And welcome back. You know, it seems like for years, and on the cover of magazines, unless you were skinny, really skinny, you couldn't be a model or sell anything. Well, our next guest is here to tell us that that's just wrong and not healthy. We're here speaking with Greg Archer, and now you can see the title of the book, Shut Up, Skinny Bitches. I don't think I've ever heard the word bitches on TV, so this is a first.
You're no longer a virgin. Congratulations.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I first saw this book, I thought, oh, this must be some sort of joke book. But this is a serious health book.
It is a serious health book. It's pretty much a commentary on a lot of other diet and health books that are out there, or quote-unquote diet and health books. There was a book that came out maybe about 3 or 4 years ago called Skinny Bitch, which was all about, you know, it's really funny the way it was done, but basically the whole attitude was, you know, you're not cool, you can't be happy unless you're skinny. Mm-hmm. And my co-author,
which is what the marketing industry tells us all the time.
Absolutely, through media, advertising, all that. And my co-author, who works with people with eating disorders, wanted to just, she's like, shut up about that. And I thought that was brilliant. And so we collaborated, and we, came up with this book that sort of speaks up against that mindset, which basically says, you can only be cool or happy if you're thin. And we're like, no, if you crave a cupcake, it's okay. Have a cupcake. Don't have 10,000 of them, or 15 at a time. But it talks a lot about following hunger and fullness cues, but a lot about body image disorder, eating disorders. And we wanted to also include, a chapter in there about men, gay men, and the LGBT community and that issue too.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, for a long time it seemed like you could only be happy and single and get a date if you were white and gorgeous and had a body that was perfect, and those little things that what 8-packs. I mean, oh my God! Yeah. I remember when ads graduated from talking about 6-packs to the gay gym ads about 8-packs. I'm like, I'm working on it too. I mean,
yeah, we're still working on one. Yeah. But that's a discussion that you really don't hear in our culture these days about men, especially where it's very prevalent, I think, with gay men. That's not a discussion that people talk about much, but the issues are really there, and especially in the gay world, where I think the advertising images are so strong and so suggestive, and basically say, it's the same thing, unless you're ripped and have muscles, or really thin, and you can't be, the message is you can't really be overweight and be accepted in our culture. That's the predominant message. We get it over and over again as gay men. Yeah,
my husband Alfredo has said for the last few years, he said, boy, the whole campaign about bears, how brilliant. That a whole generation of people can say, wow, I was never skinny, and even when I was 18 or 19, I didn't look like that, and now I'm big and I'm a little, and that can be sexy too.
Exactly.
Do you think that the non-gay world is doing that? I mean, are we seeing now ad campaigns for straight women that say it's okay to be pleasantly plump?
I think so. I mean, I think it's changing. It's changing slowly. But I mean, when I turn on the TV and see like a Playtex bra commercial, or Hanes, underwear commercial for women that are not like rail thin and looking like they're going to fall over because they haven't eaten in 2 months. I'm seeing more of those pop up. I think we're seeing a lot of those pop up, but it's still slow. It's not. We don't see a lot of it, and I don't know if we're too brainwashed now as a culture, and like what would we do if we? I think it would be great if we saw more of that, because then we'd know that. We'd know the truth, which is that it's okay. Like, the size, however you are, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. There never was. And I think the media messages, which is why we wanted to talk back in this book, they suggest that there's something wrong with you. You must change. You must fix yourself. So, and that, especially gay community, gay culture.
Well, there was some interesting graphs in this book about how big an issue eating disorders are. Talk to me about some of the factoids. I mean, so many people have bulimia or anorexia.
Yeah. Well. There's more than 12 million people in America suffer from an eating disorder or body image disorder.
12 million.
12 million. Yeah, and I have to that may be, I need to actually kind of look at that again, because that may be a lot higher. But with in particular with gay men, I mean, there was a study done with gay men. I think there was maybe about maybe 1,000 men, and Psychology Journal actually came out with a study. What they did was they took both gay and straight men and they studied them over time, and what they found was that like 15% of the gay men had eating disorder, body image disorder from this group. So there's something going on there where, as a culture, something is happening where we're not satisfied with where we're at. You
Yeah,
know?
I remember it's now 15 years ago, we had a next door neighbor who sadly died because he had a liposuction treatment that went bad. I think it was illegal or something. But I remember this man, and he was very attractive and just a good-looking guy. But he was convinced that he was overweight. And I remember at his memorial, we were all saying, did you ever think he was overweight? No, he wasn't overweight at all. He was great. But he thought he was.
Yeah.
In his brain, he was. And it led to his death. He got liposuction, got an infection, and died.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that belief, I mean, it's hit. I mean, I think we all, a majority of us walk around with this, you know, in gay culture, gay men, we walk around with that, you know, there's something wrong with me, I need to look like that person over there, or that guy has, you know, really big biceps. And we talk about it in the book about one gentleman. We sprinkle the book with a lot of little vignettes from people who've written in and told us their story, but and there's some from men too. But
tell me some of them, some personal stories.
Yeah, there's one guy whose name I can't recall right now. I want to say Jimmy, but Kenny, and you know, he came out in his early 20s and basically, you know, thought, okay, great, you know, I can be accepted now. You know, I've kind of dealt with my sexuality, and but then he suddenly found that there was pressure to look or, you know, be a certain way. So then he started, you know, working out, and he got, you know, really buff, and then he started noticing that there were really skinny jeans, and there were a lot of people around him his age that were very, very thin, and he's like, well, maybe that's what I should do. So he sort of went, so he bulked up, and then he, like, you know, immediately slimmed down. So he went through, like, you know, several rounds of trying to, you know, not really knowing where he should be. He didn't really have an identity of, like, where his natural body was. And that's just like one example of the pressure, you know, we're in, where people are feeling so pulled to, you know, look and be and you know, be a certain way. So that's one story. And there are other stories. There's a story about a pilot in there who had suffered from anorexia for several years. You know, it started when he was flying one time, and he got sick, but then after that he really noticed that, oh, well, then I can, you know, then he bulimia. So for years he suffered from bulimia. You know, now it's fine, but
and so he was in the closet about that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, are there support groups for people, and specifically gay men now we're talking about, who go through this, or is it like a closet within a closet?
There are more support groups around. There's a national organization called NAMED, the National Association of Men with Eating Disorders, and I think it's named.org if people go online. And that's a great resource. It's actually this one gentleman who has had, you know, an eating disorder for many years, noticed that there wasn't really like an outlet for men to go look for, you know, help. And so he created this organization. It's a national organization. It's a nonprofit. And he links people to, you know, wherever they are in the, you know, in the United States, like, you know, like support groups or counselors or people like that. So that's actually a really good spot, you know, named NAMED. NAMED.
Now, you're a boy from Chicago.
I am.
Polish family, and I love one of your quotes in here, making pierogies. Pierogies makes me happy.
Yes.
I love them. That's our new Christmas tradition. We have a family member who, Polish-American family. I was like, wow, pierogies, these are great. So did you come to this book because you had an eating disorder or had trouble?
Absolutely, yes. And, you know, I didn't really, you know, I've had, you know, body image issues and not like a full-blown eating disorder, but I would binge, you know, because there was a time when, you know, and I've taught fitness for 20 years too on the side, in addition to writing, but, you know, I grew up in a household where food was just, you know, food was like, you know, this is what you do to, you know, sort of, you know, deal with your emotions. And so that's what I learned how to do, you know. And then in time, as you grow up as an adult, you know, especially if you're an emotional adult, many people turn to food. Where, you know, it's sort of running away from the feeling that, you know, you should be kind of taken care of.
But it's an immediate gratification.
Yeah, exactly. So ironically, I mean, I was a fiction writer and doing a family memoir. You know, if you asked me 2 years ago if I would be writing a health and wellness book, I'd say no way. And that it would be on eating disorders and body image disorder, no way, you know. But as I worked with this with Maria, I came face to face with my own issues, and I thought, well, you know, I guess, you know, that's the universe sort of telling you something. So I started exploring those more, and I still am. it's not something that goes away, overnight. I mean, I think once you start getting attention on it, you can work with it. You have to sort of really go back to what your mind is telling you. But yeah, for years, there's something wrong with my body. I've got to work out. No, I don't. Yes, I do. I mean, it's back and forth. So I think a lot of us go through that. We don't really talk about it much, but I think we do.
In our last few moments, give me some pointers, or if someone thinks they might have an issue, what they should look for. We've got about 15 seconds left.
If they find themselves binging, like repeatedly, like during the week, like more than once, then there's something going on. Like if you're turning to the foods that you're restricting yourself, like if you're chronic diet and you're restricting foods, you're going to end up binging on those later. So if you find yourself binging a lot, like real binging, then take a look at that. There's something going on there.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if someone wants to learn more about your work in the book, then go to your website, which is?
GregArcher.com.
Great.
Yeah,
the book is Shut Up Skinny Bitches. We've been speaking with Greg Archer. I'm David Perry. Please tune in next week to watch 10%. Thanks so much.